Okay, so some more farming skills now. I wonder if you know about the number of corn and the number of potatoes that the indigenous in the Western Hemisphere had. Well, they had 300 different types of corn, including that hybrid corn the white man claims to have discovered in the 20th century. Many, many different types of corn. And in the Andes Mountains, the number of potatoes they had, and still have today, is around 6,000 potatoes. I don't think the people who classify these things are really able to even know exactly how many species it is. Several of them traveled around the world, but they have thousands and thousands more different types of potatoes. The potatoes were world changers. As we talked about the sweet potatoes and corn, potatoes themselves as well too. And what they did in Northern Europe during the famines, particularly areas like Russia and Ireland. So with this farming skills, the introduction of fertilizer, now that was the first time in the world that fertilizer was really used to that degree, and it kicked off the fertilizer industry and revolutionized farming around the world, because there was no other place where fertilizer had been used that way. It really ushered in the modern era of agriculture that we know today. Well, 5,000 years ago, they were using guano for fertilizer. And the Guano Islands are very well known. They have a 100-foot thick deposit of this bird residue, bird dung, and that's the guano as we know the term. Very nitrogen rich, and it was very well recognized thousands of years ago that this made a big difference to the quantity of food that they could grow. And so this introduction of fertilizer became a big thing in the 1700s and 1800s. Now the indigenous had divided this guano up on the island by section. So a certain area and group of farmers were allowed to take so much of this guano, and it was designated for them by group. So these world-changing devices, these saving the world as they did, I'll contrast that to some of the things that we were taught, that the Europeans taught the Indians agriculture, which would be hilarious if it wasn't so tragic. Indian corn that I grew up with and is still around today. When you see decorative corn that's used in the fall, hard corn that nobody would eat, and it's called Indian corn, it's very misleading. It gives the wrong impression. They developed corn and had for thousands of years, and it was used to the far north and the far south, as far as it was possible to grow, and also depicting the fact that their trade was so widespread. Okay, we'll see you next time.